So welcome to today's show, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we are excited to introduce you to an amazing human being, Awfa Mustafa, who is a serial entrepreneur and pioneer of the motivational event industry in the Middle East. With the launch of Najahi Events in 2015, Awfa has built the industry ground up, disrupting perceptions and shedding new light on the benefits of personal growth courses and edutainment. Now, Najahi Events' first mega event was held in Dubai in November 2016, and since then, the company has grown to be the leading motivational event producer in the region. Now, the organization has brought a long list of renowned speakers to the region, including Tony Robbins, Alicia Keys, Nick V, Prince EA, Jay Shetty, and so many more. And we are also excited to announce that Awfa and Najahi Events will be one of our partners for the Become a Force for Good event we are running in October. So we are super excited to be speaking to Awfa today. So thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are doing amazing as well. I mean, look at you. This is absolutely awesome what you guys are doing. I mean, I remember when you first started and I thought, what a nice concept. And now, wow, the podcast and your followers and the things that you've done. It's really an honor to work with you.
Thank you.
Leslie, thank you so much. And that really actually means a lot because I remember going to a Najahi event back in Dubai, the very start of my entrepreneurial journey. And it was a time for me where it was pretty overwhelming, to say the least. I think I sort of didn't know which way we were going. I had all these ideas and didn't really know what to do with them. And one of your events, well, a few of your events actually really helped me to gain clarity and just see how other people do things, and the quality of the speakers that you had as well, very inspiring, very educational, of course, as well. So thank you, because perhaps without your events, we wouldn't even be here doing what we're doing.
Wow, that makes me so happy, because that's the whole purpose of everything we do. Like, this is the purpose of Najahi, is to show people that there are different ways to do things, and that you may have a ton of ideas in your head, but we help people narrow down and actually try it out, like see it from the world experts and see that, is this something for me? Is this not for me? I'm on the wrong path? Can I try it out for a while? And that's the whole purpose of what we do. That's why we always bring multiple topics to the table in every single event, because people have different goals and people have different approaches and different business models, and they can try it out. Yeah. So I'm very happy to hear that, because you're not the first person to say that. So it tells me that, we're on the right path.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Definitely, absolutely. So for anyone who's listening who maybe has heard of Najahi or hasn't heard of Najahi, tell us a little bit, first of all, about your background, like who you are, where you've come from to where you are now, and then also about Najahi Events, on why you created it, what's it all about. So just give everyone a nice deep overview of everything.
Wow, I'm from Iraq. I'm Arabic, from Baghdad, born in Baghdad, raised in London until I was 13, but then I went back to Iraq for schooling. And then after that, I started my career path, went through a big journey of transformation myself there. But life wasn't easy. I lived in wars, a lot of wars. I come from Baghdad, so there you go. It says that at all. So life wasn't easy. And by the time I was able to just escape let's call it the survival mode of just day to day, and being able to even after leaving Iraq, it was still survival mode, because I had to sustain myself and my family for a very long time. After that, I had to find a way to sustain my sanity, because you go through these situations, especially in wars, and you see a lot of ugliness, and you have to self-heal. It was really a self-healing journey. You can go either way. You can go the opposite way, where you have to well, you go in the deep end and probably be depressed for the rest of your life, and be angry and upset and vindictive, and I'll say angry against the circumstances you were born in. Like, why was I born in this country when everybody else can live happily? Why am I living wars every day? We reached a point where we would have to stand in line, and I'm saying I was like 18 at that time. You stand in line with a bottle of water, and you're trying to fill that bottle of water, and that's all you have for the day, because there's no water, there's no electricity. It's a war. And to the point where Like, how can I embrace that and say, thank God for the water versus, oh my God, why do I only have that type of water? So I'm grateful for my family for teaching me a lot about gratefulness and gratitude and being happy to be one alive, be to have each other. Like every day we wake up and we say, we're still alive, we still have each other. That's was the most important part. And then after that, when I actually left Iraq, it was about how do I get my family out? How do I make enough income to support us all? So I naturally went deep into the career path. I took every course possible. If you look at my LinkedIn, there's every program possible, every course possible, everything possible that can get me that next job that can make my income higher. I was not in the entrepreneurial state. I just wanted a steady income and a career path that will get me to a place where now I can make enough money for everybody. And so that was how I did it. I started a geek IT person writing code, and I worked everywhere. I worked with the United Nations, then in Jordan with Aramex for 6 years, and Aramex in the UAE for a bunch of years. I worked in Abu Dhabi, I worked in Canada, wherever I get a job, basically. But I reached a point where I left, when I left Aramex, I was the director of projects globally. And I was very happy with my bosses. And I was very inspired by a person called Fadi Ghandour, which is the founder and president of Aramex at that time. And I worked very closely with him and the team, the CEO level. So this is where I got myself from absolutely nothing into a director working at the CEO level. And fine, of course, I got my family out. We were living very comfortably. And I became, of course, with my travels, I obtained a Canadian passport, which was very helpful, I'll be honest, because my Iraqi passport was getting me nowhere in the European world and the West world. And the UAE was still okay. But then I said, at that time I got married, I had a child, and I said, that's enough. I want to focus on my child. And guess what happened? I focused on my child, but then I was like, there's more that I need to do. Like this is somebody that is not, I'm not a person that can sit home and say, I'm done. I felt like there was more that I needed to do. And I'm grateful for my own personal journey that I self-healed myself, and I taught myself how to become somebody strong and successful, but in the career world. But while I had my daughter, I traveled the world attending seminars because I wanted to exactly where everybody was when I started Najahi is, what am I going to do next? So what am I going to do next? I mean, I have all this experience, all this knowledge, but what am I going to do next? I don't want to be working for people because I can't do the 9 to 5 anymore. I have other life commitments, but what am I going to do next? And this is where traveling and attending multiple events around the world. And I remember it was in 2015 when I actually started Najahi. In 2015, I was at the one of the Tony Robbins events. And it wasn't the first one. It was like the millionth one. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to do this in the UAE. This is what I'm going to do instead of me traveling and packing up and leaving my daughter, leaving my husband, leaving my home every time. Why don't we have this in the Middle East? And this is where I said, this is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to bring this type of education to individuals to the Middle East. So all my savings, I had no idea what I'm doing. Honestly, no idea. This didn't come like I had a business plan and I had numbers. No, it all came out of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right. And I'll figure it out later. And I did. I made a ton of mistakes, but here we are later. But this is how it started. And I remember looking at Tony at that event saying, one day, Tony, you will be the reason I bring you to the Middle East. And it was 3 years later, exactly. It was, I achieved that. So
amazing.
That's the story.
Alva, this is so inspiring. I'm so happy that you shared that. So thank you, because it's sometimes really hard. And I know from our personal experience from speaking to the clients that we work with and our audience listening to this podcast, is that sometimes when you're in those survival modes, it's very hard sometimes to see what else is possible. And by you sharing your story there, it brings hope, right? It brings hope for anyone. You know, being raised in a war zone and experiencing that's some heavy stuff, right? That's some heavy trauma there. And to have come through that I'm sure was not easy. And then to build the life that you have and the family you have, and now to be doing what you're doing, it's just this beautiful ripple effect. And it's kind of the pattern we've seen with a lot of people we work with, is when they go through that self-healing, all of a sudden, like you've said, there's something more. There's something more. I can't just sit here and say I'm done, right? And it's just like this whole other side, it just gets born. So I think that's very, very inspiring for our listeners. 100%. You mentioned gratitude, obviously when you was talking about one of the key things that helped you through that period. Can you tell us a little bit more about perhaps the gratitude and why and how that played such a big part for you, and if there's anything else that actually really helped you through that extremely stressful period?
Do you know what? When you're in survival mode, your brain and body has a way to get you going. You wake up every day and say, I'm still alive. All right. I'm not talking extreme. Not everybody goes through this. I'm talking like probably people that are living war zones right now, or extreme life circumstances, understand this. When you're in you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and you have absolutely no control over anything. You can plan and plan. You can say, I'm going to go in the bunker tonight, or I'm going to sit under the staircase because a bomb could fall on us. And this is how we lived. We lived in a situation where a bomb can fall on you any minute. So we hold hands and say, let's see. And if anybody leaves the house, we kiss them goodbye as if we're never going to see them again. And they come back, we greet them and say, you're back, you're home. This is how it was. But when you live that and you're just happy all the time that you are seeing that person again, your mom or your dad, or you're seeing your sisters or your neighbors, and etc. Or when you see the opposite, which is when other people actually face the opposite of it, where their family member didn't come home or their house did get hit, you learn gratitude. You learn gratitude just because you survived. And you learn the importance of the littlest things that can make you smile happy. I'll tell you an example. I was so happy one day that we had radio reception, and I heard a Wham song and Wham for George Michael. That made my whole month, my whole week, and I kept singing that song over and over again. It gave me a lot of hope. You know, these little things help. And I taught myself onwards, and I even teach my daughter now, and I teach people around me, is that don't get fixated on problems. You know, don't cry over everything. Don't get scared of things, because they're all fixable. The only thing that is not fixable is if you lose a loved one. Everything else you can fix in life. Everything else. Everything. Money can come, money will go. A house will come, a house will go. A car can get hit. It's all tangibles. Nothing should make you unhappy. Truly, nothing should make you unhappy. The only thing that should make you unhappy is the relationships that you have if you lose them, or the people that you love if you lose them. And that's where I get all my strength. I'm not scared of anything. I can run a business. I can go into anything because I don't fear. I don't fear. I've been through worse. And nothing makes me sad.
Yeah, absolutely. After everything you've been through to where you're now, it's like, you go, come on, what else is there? Like, what? I've got nothing to be scared of anymore. I've been through some extreme situations, and like and you just have that deep appreciation for every little moment in life and life itself. And I think that's what we forget as human beings when we kind of get sucked into the distractions of life, and we don't go through that. We haven't been through some extreme situations like you've been through. We can start to get complacent about those little things and start to neglect the little things and the appreciation of those little things as well. And I think it's so important to step back and appreciate everything, like greeting someone, saying goodbye to someone, all these things that we do take for granted. And what I'd love to know is, how did you, because you mentioned about healing yourself from that, like you went on your healing journey, how did you go from that extreme, that trauma, that stress, to healing yourself? Like what were some of the things that really...
It was a long journey. It wasn't easy. I was angry, of course. Like, there is gratefulness of I'm happy I heard the George Michael song, etc. But there was a lot of times where I was like very miserable, very sad, and the fact that I started creating goals, little steps for myself. Goal number 1 is I need to leave. Goal number 2 is I need to get my parents to leave. Goal number 3 is I need to start making money. So I lived day by day, motivating myself because I had little goals, not big ones, baby steps. And the goals had sub goals, by the way. Number 1 is, of course, cross the borders, because I was not allowed to travel. So I actually sneaked out of the country. I smuggled myself out of the country. And it's a very long story. One day we'll sit down and tell. So number 1, get out of here safe. Number 2, find a place to live. And so that kept me going. And at the same time, I used to, of course, we didn't have internet. We didn't have anything. But whoever had a book or anything that I could borrow, I was reading it. That kept me going, just because it doesn't matter what the book topic was. It just kept my head busy with something else other than the drama that's happening all around you, right? And even when I left the war zones and I left Iraq, and I found another type of struggle, which is another type of survival. So over there, we were surviving to live. Over here, we're surviving to survive, make an income, to eat, to pay rent, with somebody that made such little money. There's another kind of struggle. And I was alone. Of course, I was like in my 20s, and I didn't have much experience internationally. So what I did was I always read. It didn't matter what the topic is, by the way, but the thing was, at the end of the day, I would read so that I can reset and start all over again. I was not into meditation. I did not know much about meditation or yoga or that was like, if you know Maslow's pyramid, right? We're at the necessity, then we went one level up. Why not there yet? I wasn't there yet. Meditation and yoga and taking classes and attending stuff, I needed to have that income to do that. I wasn't there yet. So I was at like, whatever I can get my hands on or read, I would do that. But I was also, I'm a Muslim, and so prayer helped me a lot. I don't pray as much as I did now. Then I don't pray now as much as I did now, but I have to tell you, prayer got me through a lot. And then what I did is through a lot of my journey, I went and I studied also other religions, by the way, because I wanted to understand what other people do. So I did go through a phase where I studied Christianity, Judaism, and Buddhism, just because, and this is funny to many, my husband may say, why did you do that? I don't know why I felt like I needed to understand the whole picture. People were dying all over around me everywhere. So like the whole picture, the whole purpose of us being on earth, I went to that point of questioning, why are we here if we are going through this, But then I studied all these religions and very deeply as well. And I concluded that we are here just because we must have a purpose. Everybody's here for a purpose. Like every animal on the earth has a purpose. Every insect has a purpose. Every plant has a purpose. We have a purpose, and we find our purpose and we deliver our purpose. And if we don't, we just wasted the life that God gave us on earth. That's my opinion. And so I reached to that, and I was very happy. I was trying to find every day a milestone, every year a milestone, every month a milestone to reach my purpose. And my purpose changed, by the way, as I matured. It wasn't like I knew I'm going to own Najahi. No, my purpose was, number 1 is to make sure that everybody's happy around me. My purpose was to later on inspire. My purpose was to lead. My purpose, etc. So there was always a purpose as I mature, but purpose grows with you. That's how I did it. Goals.
There's goals. Yeah, and there's so many things there that our listeners can take away for sure, and obviously us as well, is that it's relatable anywhere, anyway. Though just having that small goals and those small steps can sometimes get you to the top of the mountain, right? Otherwise, it can be so overwhelming. And I love the fact that, and you said this in your intros, like your body knew what to do. Like you knew to grab whatever book it was you could find. You knew like all of those things to lean into that were within your awareness. And you just, was it instinctively you knew, or did your parents ever tell you, okay, when you're feeling this way, do this?
No. I had great parents. I'm grateful. My father was a journalist, a writer, and a poet. And every day he reads, and every day he writes. And he went through much harder situations than me. And he used to read every single day, just to, and he'd write his poems. And my mother, and I get my business sense from my mom. My mom was a businesswoman. She was a pharmacist that opened pharmacies in different places in Baghdad to support us to survive. So she was working day in, day out just to make ends meet. So from both parents, I got the business sense from my mom, and I got the sensitivity. My father was a very sensitive man. He was a poet, and he's a beautiful person. But he taught me that reading is your best way. And when the war was happening, and my sisters and I have two sisters, we would read with a candlelight or whatever light we had. We would read, and he'd go and find us books, and so I continued that the reading aspect. It was very important for us in our family that we read.
Beautiful.
Arabic and English. So we'd read Arabic literature or English, whichever we get our hands on. We beggars can't be choosers. So whatever we got, we got.
It's so cool though as well, because the array of different topics that you was probably reading about as well, even back then, it would open you up to so much more, because it's so easy in this one day to, okay, I'm interested in health, I'm just going to read about health, right? But we can learn from all these different places. I think that's beautiful.
Right, because we didn't have choices, right? That's what we got.
Yeah.
There you go. Found these books. Okay, let's read them. Some books I can't say all of them are great, but you'd go from romantic Arabic novels to romantic English novels to some history to some poetry, and never self-healing, by the way. Never have I ever read in Baghdad anything about nor in this region. That's where I had to travel all the time about self-development, self-healing to learn more. And this is where the idea came to say, okay, there is a gap. Obviously, there is a gap. And this is where I found that opportunity to bring it in. And it was always not meant for the money. People say, oh, but you must have made $1 million. I mean, I did. I did. Not saying that Najahi didn't make money. We did. But in honesty, I always had to reinvest it back in to make it better and better and better. And the purpose was just to not, like people say, you are, like you said, the internet, we are pioneering and etc. In all honesty, never was my purpose to be famous. As you can see, I'm not even online a lot. Never my purpose was to pioneer. I would love for other people to come in and participate in my journey, because it's a lonely journey of trying to do it on my own. And I'm seeing a lot of people coming in, which makes me very happy, because we can all generate a lot of awareness about how important it is to work to self-development, understand your own person. You guys are doing healing. Entrepreneurs need guidance, because you can crash and fail a million times. And honestly, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people take business loans and personal loans and borrow from their uncles and aunts and crash and burn. And it hurts to see that. So I at the end of the day, I believe, and this is also me saying, you can go both ways as a human being, and it's people that can help others see the difference are much needed in this society. And it comes back from where I came from. So you see, what I was really aspiring to do one day, and I will do that, is take everything that I did back to Iraq, or to the rest of the Arab world, not just Dubai, because you can see that one cleric, which is an extremist Muslim cleric, can guide people, and you have a qaida. Or one very nice, inspiring person can guide people, and you have an amazing society. It just takes the power of speaking. Speaking is unbelievably impactful on human beings. And a lot of human beings and a lot of people in our part of the world probably are not that educated to differentiate a lot between what they're hearing is guiding them to good or guiding them to bad. And this is honestly the purpose of where I'm at right now. This is my new purpose, is I want to take Najahi to a whole different level. Now, naturally, we are expanding in other areas, but ultimately, one day when this company becomes, inshallah, big enough, we will go and expand and try to offer a lot of free content and a lot of free stuff to help build healthier societies rather than the other way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Power of speaking.
It's so powerful.
It is so powerful. And what you said there about you didn't, like, your intention wasn't to be a leading, like a pioneer and leading pioneer, but everything, your whole process, your thought process about serving and helping others and giving back, to be that, whether your intention was to be an inspirational leading entrepreneur or pioneer, that was the outcome of it. And because of that, you are inspiring people to lead them in that direction of self-discovery, of self-improvement, of self-development. And that does make you one of the leading entrepreneurs. And I know it's not something that you set out to be, but that's the result of that. And that's great because, like we said, you said there, you've seen entrepreneurs who you get loans and they do that and they just end up exploding and it comes crashing down on them. And we need people like yourself to help guide new entrepreneurs on that journey, so they don't crash and burn, or they might get to that, but at that point, but then there's people like yourself, like us out there, who can help to guide them in the right direction, so they get to that stage where they are serving better, they are making the money they want to be able to help more people. So what I'd love to kind of dig into is, as a leading entrepreneur, obviously it must be like a high stressful environment with everything that you deal with. Obviously different stresses nowadays from what you've obviously been through in the past, but how do you deal with that as a leading entrepreneur? How do you deal with those stresses that show up daily, weekly, monthly?
My advice to everybody is get a really good team. Get a really good team. Now, your job as the leader of that team is to keep them inspired, motivated, and keep them, of course, let them buy into your purpose. Again, it's all about purpose at the end of the day. If you bring an employee that sits in your office and does not believe in what you're doing, they will come here, leave in a year, and I've seen that happen. But how I deal with that stress is A, that you have to have processes and systems in place, and B, always look at the big picture. And yes, we've had failures, believe me, like every single employee, entrepreneur in the world. We fell until we figured it out. Not every single event that we've done has brought revenues and money back, but it has brought, I'd always try to look at the good side. It's brought a learning, the team has learned from our mistakes. We did inspire some people, and a lot of people walked out happy. All right, that topic doesn't work in the UAE. Maybe it's not the time of we kind of learn because we don't know. We're not like, my biggest stress was, how do I bring something that nobody's done before into a market? So I had no case studies. I had nothing to rely on, nothing to benchmark against. Let's say, okay, they did this, so probably if I do that and I tweak it, nothing. It was just like, let's just do it and figure it out. So I have to say, by the time I figured it out as well, COVID happened and we had to figure out a whole new business landscape all over again. And then that was stressful. And then you go again. And now the world has changed all over again. And we're figuring out this new landscape for motivational and self-development world, whether it's virtual or live, which is still figuring it out. But when I deal with stress, now I do meditate, by the way. I do guided meditation. I've just into meditation recently, so I do guided meditation, and I switch off from 8 p.m. all the way to till I sleep, and if I can. And I can't do that every day because I have calls with America, but when I do, I switch off at 8. And my daughter sleeps at 7:30. At 8, I completely switch off and say tomorrow's another day. That's if I can, if I don't have calls with the USA. If I do, then if I do, then the next day before the day starts, I actually do daily in the morning meditation before I go to my team, or naturally go to the gym or work out. So I work out 5 times a week, as much as I like, maximum an hour. And then from every now and then I do guided meditation. But If I don't, it's not going to work.
You feel it. I'm the same.
If I don't, I mean, I'd rather not show my face, because
Yeah.
my team doesn't deserve this. They're great people.
I love that from a leadership standpoint. That's what we've always said, is we will not show up or put ourselves in a scenario where we're not able to fully shine and give what we can give, right? And that self-care and that discipline and like being switched off by 8 p.m. and then also having a backup plan for the days you can't do that is super powerful, because I think that's actually a bit of the secret sauce that people are missing in the grand scheme of things. Because most people like to have some kind of plan, right? Or the morning routine, win your morning or win your evening, and life is great. But actually, life doesn't work that way, does it? Like, let's be honest, it can be a bit chaotic sometimes and unpredictable. So we have to adapt. So I love that you've got that backup plan there.
Yeah.
Is
It
there?
won't work.
Sorry,
It won't work, because I tried it. I said, okay, the next day I go away, wake up early, and we'll go and do it. But guess what? I was cranky. I was upset. I was not happy, and then it backfired. It backfired on my communication with my team. They were not happy. They were demotivated. And this is a team that you need motivated, because when my husband speaks about leadership all the time, he's a general and he leads. He led. In the Air Force. And so he has a speech, and he says the high speed shaft, a leader in an engine, there's in an airplane engine, there's something called the high speed shaft, which everything revolves around it. So if that shaft is slow, the other engines won't work. That is kind of, the center of the heart of the airplane. If that is slow, if it's broken, everything else doesn't go, the plane won't fly. But if that's fast and strong, everything flies. And he calls leaders, you are the high-speed shaft of your organizations, and mothers and parents, you are the high-speed shaft of your homes. If you're down, everybody's down. If you're as a leader, if I'm down, everybody will be down. And that's I learned a lot from him. So now he told me, just don't go, sit down, wait, and then leave. I'll go for a run, I'll go for a walk, or then, and so I learned that. I stay the high-speed shaft.
I love that.
Love that analogy. Definitely.
So is, out of all of the things you've just shared that you do to keep you operating at that level, is there one in particular that is like your power go-to thing that you do? Or is it more intuitive, and if you feel like you need to meditate or go to the gym, you'll just see how you feel? Or is there one thing that really gives a good return for you?
Honestly, there's not that one. It's how it is on the day. There's not that one. But I tell you one thing, I have learned to prioritize my time a lot, because I think if somebody thinks that they can do everything, and then they're doing nothing. Nothing means that they're gonna lose out on their business, they're gonna lose out on their friends, and they're gonna lose out on their family. So I've learned that by being very organized and prioritizing my time is my number one thing that gets me very, very, I can achieve a lot by not feeling bad that I missed out on a lot as well. And you have to have that balance. You cannot just be working. You have to have that balance as well. So my one thing that I would say to everybody is try to find, and they say there is no such thing as a work-life balance. I say you choose that. You choose a life-work balance. It's your choice as a leader, as a business owner. Otherwise, there's no point in running this business in the first place. Just quit. So I do prioritize, and I tell everybody I prioritize things in 3 ways. If my family, my mental health, which is being able to communicate, to be part of my society, and my business. Anything that doesn't fall. So somebody calls and says, I need to meet you. I look at it. Are you taking away from my family time? If you are, then why? Is it adding to my business? Or are we going to be really good friends? Because if nothing, then I don't want to have this meeting, because I will rather stay with my family, because I don't want to take away from my family time. So I always say family time running a business, if you are not careful, you can be very selfish. You may be very successful, but the price is your family. They won't see you, they won't feel you, they won't know you. And I don't want that, because as I said in the beginning, everything can be replaceable except the people and the relationships that you have and the people you love. So I make sure that I have given my family the first, and then my business the second, and everything else we'll figure out how to put it. But this is how I manage my sanity. If I think I'm having that great relationship with my husband and my daughter and my family is just keeping me always in a space where I'm ready to give more. Because if I didn't have that relationship, I think I will quit, because I would know I wouldn't have given each party the right amount of attention that I wanted to.
I love that.
That's why I'm never online, by the way. That's why
Yeah.
I'm very online. I don't because it will take away from my daughter and my life.
I just think it's so powerful what you said about that work-life balance. I think the biggest misconception around work-life balance is people think it's 50-50. I said it's like the work-life balance is, are you able to show up mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually and perform basically at your highest level in all areas of your life? If not, you haven't got that work-life balance. So it's not about like how much time you spend at work, how much time. It's the energy you're able to show up with in those areas and be present with. I think is what really creates that balance. So I think if anyone listening can move away from the old school thinking about work-life balance being time and like that percentage, and start to think more on how you show up energetically for your family, for your colleagues, for your friends, for everywhere, that will start to create that balance in your life. And you'll start to know if you're spending too much energy on one area, if you're going home and then you haven't got the energy or the presence to give to your family, then you know you're at a disbalance there.
You're very right. And it could be very selfish of you, because at the end of the day, your business brings financial returns to your family. So it's great from a financial perspective. You know, you're creating an income for your family to live this lifestyle that they want, but they didn't ask for that. They want you. They want you, especially the little ones. They just want you, you know. And I feel so sad every day that, like, my daughter was, when I started Najahi, my daughter was 2 and now she's 8. And I'm like, wow, how did I miss out on anything with you? So I try to always make sure that she knows, and I bring her to my events, and she watches, and the best thing about the Tony Robbins event was she was only 5, and she walked. My husband was carrying her, and there were 10,000 people in the arena, and she said to me, 5, right? Wow, mommy, you did all of this, and that made me like,
oh,
yes,
imagine. You could have gone home after that, right?
Yeah.
That was worth it just for that.
Care anything. Then I just held her and I kept her with me, and I just felt like, you know what, I'm a role model to her right now, so she can see that she can achieve anything she wants. And that for me was very important. And without that connection, without me showing her, being there for her all the time, if I was just busy at work, busy, she wouldn't have figured out to appreciate what I'm doing. But I always involved her. I used to show her. I take her in rehearsals. I'll put her on stage and put the camera in front of her, let her dance on stage. You know, involve your children. If you cannot do the life balance, if you cannot take them out and you have to be somewhere, take them with you. It's my opinion. Take them with you. Let them see.
Oh, that's smart. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
You said earlier on about like having a team has helped you massively, and it really made me think of it when you just said about being a role model, obviously for your daughter, but also surrounding her by other powerful personalities and experts and people with incredible hearts. And I can't imagine what my life would be like if at 5 years old I'm like in the room with Tony Robbins. Like, it just blows your mind, right? But Awfa, I'm curious to know, like, who have been your perhaps greatest teachers and role models on your journey? I'm sure they've probably changed, and maybe there's too many to mention, but I'd love to know.
Too many, to be honest. Too many. Every phase there was something. It starts with the closest people around you. Of course, my father was a big role model, my mother. But then every phase, to be honest, when I was in the business world, as a corporate, I'm saying, my role model was Fadi Ghandour, the founder of Aramex. And because then he started WAMDA, and then he started other age. He was a VC for many entrepreneurs and many companies, including Karim and so many successful ones, right? And so I always looked up. Actually, when I started Najahi, I went to him and I said, "I want to do that. What do you think?" And he said, "Well, you have enough guts for it. Go for it." That was his answer. He said, "Nobody's done it before, so I can't tell you anything, but I know you've got the guts for it, go for it." And so I did. That in my career life was Fadi, always Fadi. And I owe him a lot of, he was my advisor. He gave me a lot of growth and experience while I was working under Najahi, even as a junior software developer. So I started as the lowest of the lowest. I was writing code in IT and like nothing, but he met me in a small occasion, and he was like, "What do you do?" I do this and that. And says, "Are you happy?" "Yes, I am happy." "Are you sure? Do you want to talk about it?" Because I was not happy.
Okay.
And then he was the president and I was not. And you say that kind of thing taught me how to become a leader with my own team. Like, doesn't matter where you are in the food chain. If you don't care about the people and the lowest of the food chain, then you're not going to eat either. So you just have to make sure that there's going to be an imbalance in your team if only a few people are happy and the masses are not. So he taught me a lot about leadership. And then as I became my own boss, let's say, I ran my own business, there were role models like, of course, the Tony Robbins of the world, but not only Tony Robbins. Like I had, if you know Lisa Nichols.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lisa Nichols, she became a friend from before I brought her into Najahi to be a speaker with Najahi. We connected and she taught me a lot of things. And I look at her as like the nice smile, the kind heart, the successful entrepreneur, the creative person, the innovator, the mother that had to survive as well. Like she had to survive and start from scratch. She was a single mom and did what she did. And so she was a big role model for me. And also she taught me a lot about the event world as well. And then there were other people like Ken and Alicia Minkus also support me till today. Till the day when I need something, I give them a call and say, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" So I have role models and I have advisors.
Nice.
And I'm grateful to say I'm in a world where I can pick up a phone and ask advice and they tell me advice because we work together in the same industry. I call myself lucky actually to be in this industry where I don't need to have guests all the time. I call other people and say, how did it work in America for you? When you did this business model, did it work well in America? Because it's not working in the Middle East, what can I tweak? So these are advisors. And as for role models, and this is going to sound tacky, so please forgive me, but I know a lot of royal family members in Abu Dhabi, as my husband works with them now, and they inspire me honestly every single day. Every single day, the way they operate, the way they deal with the people, the way they deal with the big picture is unbelievable. Now I used to live in Abu Dhabi, that's why I know the Abu Dhabi people, but now I moved to Dubai and I'm getting closer to the Dubai systems. But it's very inspiring to see how they are. So now it's like a really big picture, right? Really big picture. But at the very beginning, it was what I needed. I would look for a role model there and I aspire to be like them. Let's say, be like them.
Yeah.
Started with the Fadi Ghandour of the world.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, because I think sometimes it can be so underrated, especially with COVID times as well, where a lot of people feel isolated, but actually there are so many positive teachers and role models and advisors there. If only we can have the guts to maybe ask them as well for some advice, or just you know, connect with them. Even following them on social media can immediately change the way you think, but also showing up to events like Najahi hosts, and because you're giving that back to others. Like you said, you're lucky because you can just pick up the phone to them, but you're actually giving other people the opportunity to connect as well. One of the things I loved about your events is that it felt like a very supportive environment, and it wasn't only about you just turn up and see the speakers. There was a lot of networking involved, and it didn't feel like the speakers were just on stage. No, you could actually interact with them on the most part.
Like I said, the landscape of learning has changed after COVID, of this business has changed. Like before COVID, you can see people on stage for an hour, be inspired, and then choose to go into their programs or not, right? Now it's changed because people want to connect with you more. COVID taught us that we need to be closer, and we need to know you more, to work with you. And while a lot of people went virtual, they're ready to come back from the virtual learning into the real learning. But what happened in virtual is they would see their home, and they can see a mentor or a coach online for 3 hours. For 3 hours, not 1 hour on stage where they're sitting in a chair like this, and they're, you know, probably cold in a cold room, like what Tony Robbins does to us. He freezes us in a cold room, right? They've changed into I sit for 3 hours and I get to know you, and we laugh and joke, and our camera is on and our speaker is on, and we can communicate, and then I'll decide if I can if I would like to, if we connect, if we have that chemistry, then you can be my mentor. So chemistry does not happen from stage only. Chemistry happens when you're in an intimate place. So what I'm doing this time, which is on the 2nd and 3rd of October, is we're doing this stage thing, but only for half a day. So only for half a day, you'll see 4 speakers each day, and you will decide if you initially connect with that person. And then you will sign up to go to a workshop. And in that workshop, it's a smaller room. Let's say you and another 90 people decided that you like this particular topic. You want to learn how to get better at public speaking, right? And now we're in a smaller room where we get to talk to each other, chat, meet other people as well in the same field. And for 3 hours, figure out if this chemistry works or not, and if I want you as my coach. That didn't work, go to the next coach. That didn't work. So you can have the opportunity to, in one day, do 4 a day or 2 a day, sorry, and then the next day another 2, and then you can come back and do the other 2 that you missed. That's how the landscape has changed. On stage does not work. It's not going to inspire enough, because virtual gave us the opportunity to meet somebody for 3 hours and connect with them. So I'm trying to simulate the virtual in the live and make it in a workshop where you connect over 3 hours. But now you have other people that you can shake hands with as well. And enjoy your time.
Wow. And that event on October, that's the Scale-a-thon event.
That's the Scale-a-thon event, yes. The Scale-a-thon. We're targeting, so this came out from me because after COVID again, like it all changed, as I mentioned, and I had to go to my mentors and say, okay, now what? Where do we go from here? Like, okay, we did the whole virtual, amazing. The company's alive, amazing. We didn't crash and burn, wonderful. Now what, right? And how do we now take the company back to where it was, which is the 7-8 figures? Because of course, virtual did not give us the same revenues as the live used to. And so it's a now what? And they were like, all right, so we're going to do this and this. We're going to tweak this. This is what we're going to. So I had mentors, like you said, I did it. And so the idea came, so if I needed help, a lot of people are in my shoes right now, a lot of business owners that used to make the nice, comfortable incomes. now are struggling because the landscape has changed. So let's do something called the Scale-a-thon, which is helping people scale from wherever they are. And we're going to help them, we're going to teach them how, and it is possible to go back to the 7+ figures. So the entire room will be entrepreneurs and business owners. It's not targeted for individuals that want to make a second income. Cha-ching is another type of event that we have. Cha-ching will teach people how to create, we call it passion into profit. So basically, if you are really good at something, how can you make an income out of it? Or if you are dabbling into the world of like property, making enough a side income, this is cha-ching because it's the sound of money. It's teaching people how to make other sources of income. It's purely about money. Scale-a-thon is for business owners. It's how to scale your businesses. And of course, passion is on the top of it because a lot of people lost their drive. A lot of business owners I talk to, they've lost their drive to continue because they don't know what to do next. So they say, I've hit a wall. I don't know what to do next. But we go back to them with, why did you start this from the first place? And now we tweak it with them to how are you going to achieve what you started out doing in the first place, but derailed because COVID came.
That's so powerful and such a need. It really is a need. It's funny you mentioned Cha-ching. Cha-ching was one of the events that I went to in Dubai. I think there was John Lee, Jay Shetty, JP videos.
That was the first Cha-ching.
Was that the first one? I don't remember that being the first.
Yeah,
amazing. Do you know, one of the things I actually really loved as well, and you for sure probably don't even remember this, I actually sent a thank you email to, I think, you and your team, and you personally replied and said thank you so much for coming. And well, I assume it was you. It comes from your email, so pretend it was.
It would be me because they would forward those emails to me. Any thank you that comes would come to me, by the way.
But what I loved and really appreciated was just the reply. You know, it just, again, it showed the sincerity of what you were doing. And I love that so much, not just about you, but obviously in your team and what you created in that event, and especially if that was the first one as well. It was really cool. So you're certainly going to have got it better from then, no doubts. So this Scale-a-thon that's coming up, it's the 2nd and 3rd of October, correct?
Correct. 2nd and 3rd at the World Trade Center, and I'll be there. I'm always there. I always stay at the doors welcoming, and then I stand at the door when people leave and thank them. I think a personal touch with the clients is very important. No matter how big the crowd is, I still believe that they invested their time and they invested their energy and their money to be here. And it's 2 days. These people deserve a big thank you for even investing in themselves. Like, forget about investing in yourself. Good job. Good job for coming on a weekend and learning. You could have done a million other things, but you're here. So good job.
Exactly. Really. So what we will do is we'll put the links, obviously, to the Scale-a-thon into the show notes as well, because this podcast will be going out before that, which will be amazing. I have no doubt some of our listeners will get straight involved with that. And I'm very excited myself to see how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, guys. And I can't wait to see you there as well.
Definitely.
One day we should do a joint event. One day, Najahi,
awesome.
We should do something together.
Yeah. We're partnering with you guys again this year for our Become a Force for Good event happening at the end of the month, and we've been and it's only been virtual until now. And we were talking, we were like, if we did a live one.
We were talking about how great would this be if it's live.
This is a sign.
I know we're doing the virtuals, but live is power. We're still going to do the virtual. Don't get me wrong. Najahi is going hybrid. We're still going to do a lot of virtual and continue with the virtual. But with the people that live in our city, we need to shake hands. Person to person, human to human.
100%.
Definitely. Well, with our obviously like event this year, our whole theme is about living abundantly, living consciously, and living authentically. So what I'd love to kind of finish off with is, how have you leaned into these 3 areas yourself that have helped you to thrive?
Abundance,
authenticity, and consciousness.
I think it all sums up to also integrity. Like, always stay integral to your own beliefs. whatever you believe in, whatever. Integrity does not mean stick to your word. Integrity means the values that you have, stick to your own values. So if something for me is, if I don't accept the quality of service, let's say, from any other provider, be it whatever it is, a hairstylist, a nail polish, if I don't accept that level of quality, of that level of service, then I should not give it. So that's, for me, that's the integrity. We always strive, and I tell my team, if we're not going to do it right, let's not do it. And if somebody is not happy, they're entitled to be not happy. We tell them, here, try something else, and thank you very much for coming. It's okay. But when it comes to abundance is one of the things that are non-tangible for us, but it's a feeling. If I was not an abundant person, I think I would not be able to achieve anything that I've achieved so far. For me to stay abundant, and I teach it to my team as well, to stay abundant is something that they all need to reach. And I think with your help, maybe my team should sit in your sessions as well, because humans feel it. Like even the client feels it on a phone call, they feel it on a face-to-face meeting, they feel it. They can feel you, and they can feel your integrity, they can feel your happiness, and they can feel when you are bluffing them, and they can feel you. And it's staying true to oneself in any form of communication, online, virtual, live, whatever, is key, because clients can stick with you for who you are, or leave you and laugh at you and go with somebody else, because they seek truth, they seek value, and they seek somebody that's true. And I hope I pass that on to everybody that crosses my path or joins our programs. I really do hope that in whatever we do, I really, from my speakers, I talk to them as well. Please, this is a whole different culture. These are different type of people. Let's not look at them as dollar values. Let's look at them as human beings that want to grow. Let's look at them as people that we need to help. Eventually money will come. So for me, abundance comes from the fact that I am very content with everything that I can achieve. I never had the goal of money and the shiny syndrome there, because I know it will come. But me being happy, my team being happy, and the client being happy, the satisfaction that I get from somebody shaking my hand at the end and saying to me, like you said, the email that you sent, I'm very fulfilled just from that, the fulfillment. So I find the balance, and going back to your question, I think it's just do what's true to you and stay happy and abundant. And I learned that from Lisa. This is where Lisa came in and told me, oh, you're focusing on the wrong things. Let me teach you.
I love that.
Love it.
Thank you so much, Alfa, for joining us today. There's so much wisdom in this episode, and you are showing an example of somebody that is living abundantly, living authentically, and living consciously. You can, like you said, we can feel it. I have no doubt our listeners will too. And yeah, anybody that's listening, please make sure you go and check out the Escape-a-thon event that's coming up in October.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I'll see you very soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.